we just had this big storm, and we definitely had some avalanches. We had an avalanche warning, high avalanche danger, and thankfully everyone got out and enjoyed the snow and came home safely. But I think there were some interesting things about it. And Trent, could we start with you? You could kind of maybe set the stage of where we were at and what you were thinking and why we put out an avalanche warning and a high danger this weekend.
Yeah, sounds good, Mark. Really up to this past storm, which started Friday morning at about 10 o'clock in the morning, and then really kicked into play through the overnight hours. But if you think back, well, I think many of us know we just haven't had a lot of snow here in the state of Utah, and much of our snowpack is very weak. It's very faceted, sugary, whatever term you want to use for it. It's weak. So of course we need a storm or a slab to really get avalanches. And I was seeing 16 inches of snow with an inch and a half of water in the upper Cottonwoods. Moving along the Park City Ridgeline, we were getting 10 to 13 inches of snow, pushing an inch to 1.3 water. Down in Provo, it really hadn't kicked in just yet, but they were seeing an inch, 1.2 inches of water there, as well as about pushing an inch in Ogden. The forecast for the day was an additional 4 to 8 inches of snow in the upper Cottonwoods, with perhaps north and south of us doing a little bit better if this band of precip set up, right? It felt like we were kind of moving into high danger and the avalanche warning. So we decided to issue that warning at about 6 o'clock that morning. And one unique thing about this storm is like no wind.
Yeah, but when you see that, just so everyone knows, that inch of water generally is like foot of snow-ish. I think that's, for most avalanche forecasters, that's kind of a red flag or a tipping point. Inch of water is a pretty significant load. It's a lot of weight. It's a lot of stress added to what was already a super weak snowpack.
Yeah, exactly. And we were starting to already push that inch of water. And the other unique thing about this storm is it wasn't our classic Utah storm that comes in, with strong southwest winds, and then we get that cold front and the temperature drops and we see snowfall. This storm stayed on a west-southwest flow for most of the storm. It had warmer temperatures. And so our densities were more like 8 and 10% versus, those classic northwest storms. We can start in the 8 or 10%, but then we trend off into the cold smoke, right? The 3% snow, and why we all live here in Utah, because that's what makes really good powder skiing.
So those are the things we knew. It was going to be dangerous. We had a ton of new snow, and we had a very weak snowpack. So, but then Greg, you were out quite a bit on Saturday and Sunday and put in some big days and saw a lot of terrain. And obviously, we were looking at other avalanches that were reported. But what did you see out there?
And I was a little surprised because I was expecting on Saturday to see evidence of natural avalanches, a lot of collapsing, a lot of cracking, maybe even seeing some natural avalanches running down, 3 feet into the snowpack, into that really old, weak, sugary snow. And whereas there were certainly signs of instability, I did see a couple natural avalanches, did get plenty of collapsing and cracking. It wasn't the kind of in-your-face instability that I was expecting. I was a little surprised, I'll admit. I was expecting it to definitely be a little bit more dangerous out there. But there were plenty of avalanches that were triggered this weekend. A couple were triggered into old snow, 3 feet deep, I believe. Some ran up to like 150 feet wide. On Saturday, I was in Mill Creek Canyon. Then on Sunday, I did a long tour in Little Cottonwood Canyon. And I got at least 8 huge booming collapses. One time it was our second time on a skin track. So there probably had been 8 people who had traveled through that skin track, and you got a huge booming collapse. Like you just felt it collapse on top of you. So like you're just talking about with the high avalanche danger, we were at high on Saturday. We went down to considerable on Sunday, but I still treated it like a high danger. That is, did not get on slopes steeper than 30 degrees, made sure I wasn't below anything steeper than 30 degrees or adjacent to anything steeper than 30 degrees. Just really paying attention to that. A lot of new snow, a lot of water on top of a weak snowpack.
Yeah, yeah. I was in the Uintas earlier last week, and I was getting collapsing and cracking before the storm. So it seemed like for sure, add a bunch of new snow, we're going to get avalanches,
Yeah.
and there were for sure avalanches, but it seems like our general consensus is things didn't quite come unglued, and we didn't just see as much avalanche activity as maybe we expected.
And one thing I'm thinking about with that is we're not out of the woods. We're still going to have to reconcile with this weak snowpack.
Yeah, yeah.
So perhaps, and I don't have the answers to this, but perhaps we didn't put enough of a load on the snowpack. Maybe we need more of a load. That can be more snow, some wind. We're expecting wind this week.
Yeah, yeah.
I think by about Wednesday it's supposed to get windy. That'll add a slab on top of it. So maybe we didn't add enough of a slab or
Yeah.
enough of a stress on the snowpack. And
Really, like it was dangerous, but it wasn't quite just like the world was coming to an end, like we thought.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's a good segue because Nikki, you were in this morning, and you'll be in early tomorrow morning with that alarm set for what 3:30 or so.
3:30, 3:45.
Yeah. The commute to the office is a little shorter this year. Yeah, so looking forward, like where are we at?
Yeah, so this morning we still had a considerable danger in the Salt Lake area mountains, which means dangerous avalanche conditions still exist at all upper elevations and those west through north through east facing aspects. There were avalanches triggered yesterday. About 7 were reported in the backcountry, and all of those were on those west through north through east facing aspects, which is where we know that weak faceted snow sits on the ground. We've got a really weak snowpack that we keep mentioning. And I don't see the avalanche danger necessarily increasing today and tomorrow for all the reasons that we've kind of talked about. It doesn't seem like we have that really strong slab sitting on top of the weak faceted snow. And maybe we don't have enough of that load, whether it be new snow or new wind. But I think once we add an increased load, such as the wind on Wednesday, I think we might start to see more of that strong slab over those weak facets, and the avalanche danger will probably rise again.
Yeah, some of the avalanches didn't seem like they were like we've definitely seen in other years or other times. They were maybe a little smaller, and then other years when we get that, I mean, there's definitely a slab there, but it's just a little softer. And then when we get that much harder slab, then you see them just like wall to wall, entire bowls ripping out.
Yeah, and that's not we were really seeing this weekend, even though we kind of thought we might.
So basically, things are going to stay dangerous. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think things are going to stay dangerous. Yeah, the persistent weak layer is still here. Surprise.
Yeah. Well, I know we've all had our I know each of us, we could maybe discuss this another time. I think we've all had we have our own stories of close calls when we've been surprised. So yeah, what would be I don't know, I guess what's the take home point? Where are we at now?
I think the take home point, especially for this week, is know that we still have that really weak structure, and we just got a lot of new snow. And like Greg said, we're probably not out of the woods. So just if we don't see much avalanche activity today and tomorrow, it doesn't mean things still aren't going to change. And the avalanche danger could easily rise again later in the week. And we could be dealing with this storm snow in 3 or 4 days becoming like a wind slab.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, Mark, my attitude towards riding steep terrain really hasn't even changed since Saturday. Like Greg, said really beautifully, it's the snowpack structure so poor, and we still have this weight that has come down onto the snow. And if you're standing on a steep northerly facing slope, in my mind, you're still just, you're rolling the dice a little bit there. It's, in no way, I can't justify it in my mind that, oh, the slab isn't strong enough, or, oh, there wasn't enough weight. To me, I'm just treating that like I drop in, most likely I'm going to trigger an avalanche. So I think for me, just avoidance right now of slopes steeper than 30 degrees are kind of how I'm going to travel until we, unfortunately, we need to get more snow and more weight and build a deeper snowpack. That's obviously going to come with some avalanches, but we're not going to be out of the woods until we can continue getting more and more snow on top of our weak structure that we have now.
Yeah. So in terms of this weak structure, I've heard mentioned a few times, it definitely exists on anything north facing, east facing. And then what's unusual this year, it sounds like, is You can find it on west-facing aspects. And correct me if I'm wrong here, even as you turn a little south, if you're still a little bit southwest, a little bit southeast, there's still some facets lurking. And basically the only place where you don't find that is like pretty much due south. Is that fair to say?
Mhm.
Yeah, these facets formed at the time of the year when we had the lowest sun angle, right? They formed in late November and early December. The stuff that's buried 3 feet deeply. So at that time of the year, the sun doesn't have, it's pretty low in the sky. So even those off aspects, so southwest and southeast aspects, we're all seeing faceted snow.
Yeah, held on to it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for the catch up, and yeah, we'll save this video and push it out, and hopefully it provides some context for the forecast and helps people make some decisions moving forward. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Mark.
Good talking to all of you.